Okay, so here we are. We've arrived at a meditation class. Let's start by just letting the dust settle around us. Just try and let the stories of your day kind of fall off you a little bit. Take in the room. Just arrive where you're at. Really be here. And just do that for a few moments while you breathe. Deep breaths. Really sink into your body and be here now. So this is a class that I've taught in many different forms. But for decades, there's been a subtitle to this class, usually saying something along the lines of uh, enter the sacred ocean of the silence, or explore the ocean of the silence. And I'm realizing I've never actually explained that comment. I've never explained that subtitle. And so I thought maybe we could talk about that a little bit tonight. There's not a lot to explain about it, except that the majority of people are stuck on the surface of the water of life. You know, they're just kind of being pushed around and playing with the waves on the surface of the ocean of life. And what they miss is that underneath that surface there is this deep, vast ocean of exploration, a realm of you that has so much depth and substance and silent knowledge to participate in. Some people will go through their entire life never seeing it consciously. They experience it when they fall asleep at night. You know, there's a certain point in your deep sleep where you tap in to that deeper ocean of you. And it's a necessary part of recharging your body and your mind. But in meditation, we actually stop playing on the surface of the water and we perform techniques that allow us to begin to experience that deep ocean of silence. This is something that's very difficult to talk about. It's something you really have to experience. And when you first experience it, you won't even really know what you're experiencing. You'll just know that you feel more peaceful. You'll know that you sleep better that night. You won't necessarily really understand the nuances of it all. But there's so much to see. The more time you spend there, the more your perceptive faculty gains a working understanding of what you're experiencing. And that thing that first looked like nothing then looks like a charged kind of peace starts to become just this vast realm of exploration. Funny thing is, what you gain in exploring that part of yourself serves you when you enter back on to the surface of the water to live out your daily life. You respond differently to the waves on the surface of your life. Now, what does all that look like? How does all of that work? It works through the power of your attention. Attention is truly your only power as a human being. Wherever you place your attention, that's what expands. Wherever you place your attention, that's what you're going to have more of in your life. That is what is building in your life. Attention in life is just like water to a plant. It's what you're nurturing. So, people who are stuck on the surface are stuck on the surface through their attention. You know, most people, their attention is drawn to things that they fear most or love most, and they just kind of flip-flop back and forth between those two things. And it's not even that they're really making any real choices. You know, they're just placing their attention according to their habitual tendencies and in response to their fears and desires. And so because of that, most of life feels very much out of your control. You know, you have all sorts of triggers that when certain buttons get pushed in you, you shift your attention to some ugly scene or some defensive mechanism. It really just makes you very manipulable. It makes it easy for people to manipulate you. And it kind of makes you a little bit of a puppet of life. You know, you cry when life tells you to cry, you laugh when life tells you to laugh, and you just bounce back and forth on these waves of stories on the surface of the ocean. Just these energy stories on the surface of the ocean of life. So what is meditation? Meditation is an invitation to stop allowing your attention to be directed by the habitual tendencies and the reactive parts of ourself. And instead, you make a decision at the start of any meditation where you are going to place your attention. And you just keep it there. It turns out that habitual part of yourself, which is really your personality, that's constantly directing your attention to the same few things over and over again, requires constant shifting of the attention in order to hold its structure in place. And whenever you make a choice and you don't allow that constant shifting to occur, the dictates of the personality fall apart. And you are left with the part of you that is not a personality. You're left with the part of you that is pure consciousness. And what you come to discover from that is that that personality was only ever like a filter for what you truly are. And that you had allowed that filter to basically run your entire life. Don't take my word for that. Just start meditating in this way and you'll see it for yourself. So in meditation, we choose one thing to focus on. We make a choice, and then we practice sustaining that choice. And when the personality comes in, when the waves of the ocean come in to tell us we have to look at something else now, we just gently stay with our choice, stay with our choice, stay with our choice. That cuts the bonds that have kept us on the surface of the water. And the more you can relax into that, the more those shackles that have kept you on the surface of the water start to break. And you start to just become aware of everything else in the ocean of you. Every other aspect of yourself. And it's vast. And it's good news. It's a lot less chaotic than the surfaces of the water. It's actually profound and beautiful. But it's nothing to talk about. It's something to experience. So let's go into meditation tonight. And I'd like you to, just for the time that you are watching this video or sitting in this class, I want you just to give yourself to this practice. Just decide tonight you're going to just give yourself to seeing what I'm talking about. All right? I'm here. I've put this video together for you. I'm not charging you anything. There's probably a reason I'm doing this. Why don't you get curious what that reason is? I've been doing it for decades. People don't do that if there isn't something there that they want to impart. Okay? So here's how we practice. Get comfortable in your chair. All right? You can rest your back a little bit, but you want your spine to be a little straight. We want your nervous system just open but comfortable. Then you're going to place your attention high in your body, right up here at the forehead and the crown. You're going to keep your eyes open because you live with your eyes open, and you eventually want to be able to bring this practice into your daily life. But just let them fall to a spot on the floor just to sort of get them out of the way, or a spot on the desk in front of you if you're sitting at a desk. So from there, with your attention at the forehead and crown, your eyes open and just resting somewhere in front of you, you're going to give your attention over to your breath. As you breathe in, you are right there with that inhale. 100%. You're feeling your lungs expand. You're feeling your skin stretch. You're feeling that little shift in your biochemistry when the oxygen starts entering the bloodstream from the lungs. And then on that exhale, you are riding that exhale all the way down, experiencing every inch of that exhale. You are giving yourself wholeheartedly to the process of breathing. You are allowing it to dominate 100% of your attention. You're watching it so closely that you even start to notice this little gap of nothing space every time you shift from the inhale to the exhale and from the exhale to the inhale. Just this little moment, similar to when a choir has stopped singing, but right before the audience begins to applaud, there's this little pah of silent space. I want you to pay such close attention that you're even aware of those little gaps of nothing space. And if you do that, that will gradually bring you into the meditative state. Now, the meditative state is a place of mental silence, not held rigidly, but just held by the fact that you're not allowing your mind to drag you all over your inner universe through all of your fears and desires. Okay? So you'll feel the mind come in and it'll start talking to you. There's nothing to do about it. Just continue to watch your breath. You don't need to fight it. You don't need to make it go away. Just continue watching your breath. By taking your attention off of it and putting it onto the breath, that alone will be enough for the mind to slowly quiet down because you're not feeding it with your energy. So as that mind slowly quiets down on its own, you will find that you have even more resources to give over to the breath. So you're going to practice in this way, watching the breath, breathing in, breathing out, and when the mind comes in to take you away, you're just going to keep returning to the breath, returning to the breath. Now, after a period of time, when the meditative state arises, and you're going to know that because you will actually find that this very comfortable silence has come over your being. You can actually shift your attention to that silence. Just 100% feeling the silence, listening to the silence. And when the mind comes in to take that away, just return to the silence. But most people in the beginning find that that silence only comes for little spurts, maybe 20 seconds here or there. And you know what? Those 20 seconds are profound, and they change you at a fundamental level. So if you're not able to sustain the silence, stay with the breath. Okay? So we start with the breath. Out of that, eventually the meditative state arises. And then we give ourselves over to the silence, to abide in the silence. But when that leaves us, the way to get back there is we return to the breath, return to the breath, over and over until the session is done. So let's try that now. Get yourself comfortable. Attention at the forehead and crown. Eyes just on the floor or on the desk in front of you. And just begin to breathe. Slow yourself way down so that you can just give yourself to the present moment of the breath that you're breathing right now. Watch the breath with everything you are. Give every inch of yourself to it. Let it fill your entire mental space and your feeling space and your physical space. You are the watcher of the breath. Let the mind be the mind. Let the body be the body. You be the watcher of the breath and nothing else. Nothing to understand, nothing to achieve. Give all of that up to watching the breath. Let go of time. Let go of the rest of your night. Let go of all your roles in life. And like someone just sitting and watching the grass grow, watch your breath with no agenda. Watch the breath. Renew your choice to watch the breath. Give yourself this gift. Now, at this point, many of you will start to feel this comfort in your body, like a lot of burdens have lifted. People can go decades having that experience without ever asking the right questions about it. What does that imply? If just sitting here and shifting your focus to the breath, maybe even before the mind falls completely silent, there's this feeling of freedom that comes to the body-mind complex. Things flow better. There's just an open spaciousness that just comes to you naturally. Clarity, energy. What did it take to make that happen? What it took to make that happen was just a sustained shift in the attention. You just looked at something different for a period of time. And if you really think about it, and how rare it is that you feel this way, what it tells you is that you've actually been kind of imprisoned for 99% of your day in a jail of habitual thought patterns, habitual placements of the attention. And if you want to know what that's doing for you, look at the difference between how you feel before and how you feel now. There's a deep teaching in that experience. cheapened by words. Instead, just pay attention. This feeling that comes to your being, brought about not through any magic, not through my power, but through you shifting your attention. What does that say about the possibilities for your life, the possibilities for how you can feel in a day? How much power do you actually have to alter the meaning of your days? And why would you not spend a significant amount of this life trying to master your attention? What could you possibly gain from putting off a practice that helps you master your attention? I have people who come to these classes for years. They meditate once a week with me or once a month with me just because they know that night they'll have a better night's sleep. And that's fine. I'm happy to have them. But you're missing the boat. You're missing what this says about you, the power that you have. Those are usually people that want to place all their power into me. All I'm doing is directing your attention. But you know what? It's not the breath that's making this happen. It's the attention. Even your habitual places of attention, if you just sustained one of them, even a negative one, do you know what would happen? It would lose all of its meaning. It would become as sacred as the breath is in this moment. And you would come to see that at its truest nature, it's the same as anything else. It's the same as the breath. All of the negative meaning that we weave into our habitual placements of attention happens in the shadows. It happens through our system of constantly shifting the attention. Don't try and understand this. Just take it in so that someday when you see it, you know what you're looking at. But the meanings, it just happens in the quiet assumptions. And that's what actually colors any one placement of our attention. So when we let our beliefs and all of these attitudes and opinions and fears and desires direct this constant shifting process of the mind, we just like you have to shift scene on film in order to make a movie. It takes a lot of shifting around of your attention to make this life that is so specific to you and to how you feel every day. But if you can just awaken this choice, awaken this power of attention, you'll find you don't have to take yourself out of your life in order to work with it. That's what mindfulness training is all about. But people turn that into something a little simpy. There's depth to it. It's not just a little help me relax practice. There's deep implications to any sustained choice when you see what it does to the moment that you're living, how it opens everything up. All those limitations are just gone for some reason. They're gone because you were holding them in place with your habitual shifting of placements of attention. It's so simple that people just don't catch it. Some of us spend a decade just doing nothing but focusing on it so that we can catch it. But it doesn't take a decade. It takes a moment if you're just willing to give yourself to it. And just take a little responsibility for yourself. I don't mean that in a punitive way. I just mean truly, the cost is responsibility. Why am I feeling this way? I'm feeling this way because I'm allowing my attention to be directed by the lowest parts of myself. And so you make a choice. Nothing to feel guilty about. You didn't know. The clarity wasn't there. But if you practice meditation every day, you'll find you have more of a buffer around you, and that clarity comes in to save you. But again, don't take my word for it. Do the practice. Are there any questions about that before we go back into meditation? Anything at all? Okay. Here we go. Thank you. Glad that's helpful. This is the real deal. This is what's real. Everything else is a bunch of shadows and light created by shifts in attention, yours and everyone else's. It's real in the sense that it's been created, and you have to navigate through it to be a part of the world. But it doesn't have a foundational reality. The foundational reality is what you encounter when you choose a place of attention and stop allowing your mind and attention to be controlled by the dictates of the personality. So let's go back in. Attention high in the body, forehead and crown, eyes just relaxed in front of you somewhere, but open. And become the watcher of your breath. There's nothing to think about, nothing to process. Release yourself to the breath. Everything I said is in there. You don't have to hold it in place. It will germinate and grow. So now for those of you who would like to take some of this into your life, to take the practice off the cushion and into your life, there are some ways that you can practice that. For example, tonight, if there's enough time left, or tomorrow, you want to look at some of the things that you know you're going to be encountering. Is there a difficult person that you're going to be working with? Or maybe your spouse is being difficult, or your children. Or maybe there's something that on a daily level is something that you just drudge yourself through because it's frustrating to you. And what you can do is you can make a plan ahead of time for some piece of that you're going to focus on. I think a healthy thing to do, if it's a difficult person, is in your meditative state, just sort of open yourself to understand them. What is there that you can understand about that person? Why are they the way they are? Nobody is the way they are because they're a jerk. They're the way they are because they haven't seen yet that way of being isn't going to work in life. But then what you can do is you can take something like faith in their ability to grow, and you can just give all your attention to that. Or if you can find one thing that you respect about them, anchor your attention on that. And just don't allow the mind to come in to reaffirm everything else that it knows about them. Because a tremendous amount of that has been processed through your own filters anyways. It doesn't mean that we allow anybody to abuse us. Okay? When that line gets crossed, you take action. What it does mean is we don't carry that karma around. We don't become a container for their bad karma. And instead, we shift our attention, if we're going to have to deal with the person, to one thing we can respect about them. And if you can't find anything, find big, find something little. Maybe it's how they do their hair. I don't know. But something that you can anchor your attention on. And if you can't find anything, anchor your attention on faith in their ability to grow, or respect for their process. And when you do that, what you're doing is you're basically just leaving everything else in their hands. Whatever difficulties they have, that's part of their story to deal with, and you're stepping out of it. And it allows you to be with them and work with them without living in their negativity. This is something that takes a fair amount of personal power to pull off. Most people, if they don't have a plan ahead of time, won't pull it together in the moment to do it. And don't feel bad if you fail the first 100 times you try. But do try. Because you'll probably have some successes, and when you do, you're going to learn, again, a lot about the power of your attention. Because honestly, it doesn't just change you, it changes them. It really does. But that's just a woo-woo statement until you show yourself. So I'm not interested in being believed. I'm interested in handing you things you can actually do to show yourself that it's true. But the practice of that is no different than what you've done tonight. You just, from this gentle place inside of yourself, Give your attention to a chosen point of focus. And when life comes in to try and take that away, you hold your ground. Hold your ground. Hold your ground. Not violently, not rigidly, but just through choice, through willingness rather than will. Just willing to return. Willing to return. Over and over. You can change the entire landscape of your life, of your emotional life this way, if you'll only do the practice. If you do, you'll be in the top, 0.00001% of people on the planet. And yet, you did it tonight. Why can't you do it in another situation? I don't see any reason you can't do it. Why don't you make a note for yourself tomorrow morning when you wake up? You're going to plan a few things out in your day that way just to show yourself that experience. Any questions about that before we close up? Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for showing up, and I hope you have a great night. I'll let you get back to it, and I will be here again next Thursday. Bye, everybody. Thank you.